Baudelaire, that all the arts have points in common, that there are harmonies and concerts of color that are self-sufficient and that affect us just as a musical phrase or a chord can strike us deeply, without reference to a precise and clearly stated theory. I love this quotation, not only because Monet names one of the composers whose work you'll hear soon, but also because Monet provides in it such a generous invitation to feel, to be open to being moved by sound, by color, by great art of all sorts. And so, with Monet's words in mind, it is my great pleasure to introduce Boston-based violinist Lilith Hartunian. Lilith is a favorite at the MFA, where she performed her project Vellum Sound, which paired musical selections with artworks from the museum's collection. We are thrilled to welcome Lilith back to the museum, albeit virtually this time, for today's online rendition of the Nancy Lee Clark Soundbite Concert Series. And now, without further ado, here's Lilith.
Hey everybody, my name is Lilith Hartunian and I'm really excited to be with you this afternoon to help celebrate the digital launch of Monet and Boston Lasting Impressions. I've picked 3 of my favorite paintings from this collection and paired them with 3 of my personal performances of works that were written by composers who were alive during Monet's lifetime. Ready? Let's jump in. The first painting I want to show you is entitled Rue de Bavol en Fleurs, and it was painted in 1864 when Monet was just in his 20s. There's actually a lot of sharpness and directness to what you're seeing on view now. There's high color contrast and a fairly straightforward subject matter. This directness and sharpness really made me think of the first Caprice by composer Sophie Carmen Eckhardt-Grammaté. She was a virtuoso violinist, pianist, and composer who wrote over 175 works in her lifetime and was a fierce proponent and advocate for contemporary music. First Caprice is entitled The Sick and the Clock, and it's about her experience at the bedside of a dear friend while time mercilessly ticks on. It has, again, that same intensity, directness, and sharpness from a young artist who was trying to convey something powerful. This is Sophie Carmen Eckhardt-Grammaté's The Sick and the Clock. For those of you that are just joining us, I'm violinist Lilith Hartunian, and I'm here with the MFA today to help celebrate the digital launch of Monet and Boston Lasting Impressions. After this performance, definitely go to mfa.org to check out the rest of the beautiful paintings that are on view to you now digitally. Do you remember the town we saw in the previous painting, Honfleur? That's the birthplace of our next composer, Erik Satie. He was definitely an eccentric and a rule breaker. He flunked out of school a number of times and didn't get his first composition diploma until he was in his 40s, which meant he gave himself a lot of artistic and personal freedom to compose in any way that he liked. One of the things that makes him really unique is his love and respect for musical harmonies without adhering to a strong musical structure or form. The piece I'm going to play for you is entitled Nocien No. 1. It's part of a collection of works originally written for solo piano that I've arranged for violin and toy piano that I'll be performing side by side on split screen just to make this experience a little bit more fun for all of us. The painting I want to show you now is entitled Grand Canal, Venice. In the previous painting, we talked about how there was a fairly high amount of color contrast and stark brushwork. Now we've moved a number of decades forward in Monet's life, and you can see that his style has really evolved and come into its own. One thing that became extremely clear to Monet in the latter part of his life is his love and respect for nature and natural light, which is something he was always trying to capture in his works. Even though the subject matter of this painting is a Baroque church, our eye is actually much more drawn to the sunlight and how it casts a glow on the buildings and also on the water down below. There's a lot of flow and warmth and softness to this painting. And in the piece you're about to hear, which actually doesn't have any bar lines or time signature, there's also a lot of flow and softness. This piece sounds as if it's been going on for eternity, and we tune in just for a couple of moments to experience it before we leave and the piece goes on. This is Nocien No. 1 by Erik Satie. I was going to save the best for last. The final painting I want to show you is called The Water Lily Pond. This is absolutely iconic Monet, and it was painted in Giverny, where he built his dream landscape. There's so much beautiful growth and wildlife and nature in this painting and that Japanese bridge. This painting is going to be paired with also an iconic piece from the classical repertoire. It's called Girl with the Flaxen Hair by Debussy. Even though Debussy himself resented being called an impressionist composer, he has very much contributed to the style that we attribute to Impressionism. This piece is based on a poem with the same title, Girl with the Flaxen Hair, and it's all about that warmth and that glow and that beauty. In the painting that you're looking at now, again, even though the subject matter is that Japanese bridge and the greenery draping around it, what your eye is drawn to is that magical, warm, soft light. The harmonies that you'll hear in the Debussy, I would say, are so cushiony and warm and just as languid as what you're seeing in the painting. In the previous performance, I told you that I made an arrangement for two of me, and this time, why stop there? There will be 4 Liliths on screen. So this work, again, was originally written for solo piano, and there have been many fairly well-known transcriptions, one of which is for violin and piano, but this is my personal transcription of Girl with the Flaxen Hair for 4 violins. I hope you enjoy.